undocumented interchangeably.
Yeah.
So, are you familiar with the AB 540 bill?
Yes.
And who it applies to? So, okay, as you know, it doesn't apply just to undocumented students. It can apply to any student as long as they're trying to get in-state tuition and they meet the criteria. But for the purpose of reaching out to the students, we do utilize AB 540 interchangeably with being undocumented. But in terms of the type of support that we give undocumented students, we work really closely with them from the moment that they show interest in attending the university to the day that they graduate. So like right now, for example, we have a massive number of incoming calls and inquiries about what kind of support is available to undocumented students. So we have a lot of the incoming class contacting our offices, with the questions about how am I going to pay for college if, I don't qualify for loans or anything like that. Because through the California DREAM Act, students who are undocumented and qualify for AB 540 are able to get enough financial aid to cover the general Cal grant and the UC grant. But because the undocumented students in California don't qualify for federal aid in terms of loans, they have that $10,000 gap that all traditional students who fill out of FAFSA normally fill in with their loans. So that's where we come in and help them out and figure out what are going to be the next action steps for them to be able to afford tuition during the time they're here at UC Santa Cruz. Do you have any follow-up questions regarding that as of now?
No?
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me pull the data real quick. See if I can find it. Sorry, those are Berkeley's numbers. So as of now, there's currently 351 students enrolled at UC Santa Cruz. Out of the 351, there's about 74 students who are affiliated with Oaks College, and that's actually the college with the largest amount of undocumented students that qualify for AB 540. So again, a lot of the programming that we do with the incoming cohort, specifically during the transition period, we do have the extended orientation, which is like a 1-week program for our students, where we talk about, how do you navigate this system as an undocumented person. Everything from, coming in as a regular student to choosing classes, how do you choose a major, who are the departments that you talk to how do you pay for tuition. What does DACA mean? What kind of services do you qualify for, or what kind of opportunities are available to you? When considering graduate school, what are other things that you need to consider as an undocumented person due to the limited forms of financial aid that are out there? So we talk about all of these different things, like everything from like the traditional things that we talk to with any student coming in to like what are the extra things that you need to learn based on your situation. And these are conversations that we have with students from the day that they come in until the day that they graduate, so they can, have a good glimpse as to what kind of opportunities they need to take advantage of in order to further their academics as well as their career goals. And of course, we do have the peer mentoring component to the program as well. So we currently have a team of 11 interns. Next year's going to be 12. And they serve as a point of contact for the students. So if the students have any questions regarding absolutely anything, whether it's housing, if it's regarding food, like anything that has to do with their immigration status or legal case, we point them and refer them to the right people to talk to so they can get the best assistance as possible.
Can you talk a little bit more about the computer program and the book lending library?
Yeah, of course. So, the book lending library started off. It actually came from the AB 540 Student Services. So this came during a time where a lot of undocumented students, before the California Dream Act, before DACA, a lot of undocumented students were either choosing to pay for their tuition out of their own pocket, and buy books or eat. So of course tuition came first, then food, and then at the very end was books. So one of the interns at the time who was working for the AB 540 Student Services, she came up with the idea of creating a textbook lending program. With that program, it allowed for students to not just having to focus on them eating, but also having their textbooks so they can pass their classes and be able to continue on to the next quarter. And with the textbook lending program, of course, it attracted a lot of students. And at first, it was normally undocumented students were the ones that qualified for the program because they showed the largest need. And now it's a really good mix of students. It's not just undocumented students benefiting from the program, but it's also documented students who, have maxed out on all forms of financial aid and are still facing financial hardships.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the book lending library, does EOP form their own library?
We do have our own library. So where the cafe area is at on that side of the Arc, there's a back room where it's just full of books, and the books that we have, we usually like to utilize those first before we purchase any new books, and we can continuously reuse them. And at the moment, we do have a large amount of books that are not currently in use, but students are allowed to come in and check them out throughout the quarter without having to go through the regular textbook lending library application process. Yeah. Okay. And then for the computer program, actually, I think it began 3 or 4 years ago. And I mean, just like the textbook lending program, the reason why it was created is because a lot of students were not really doing well academically because of a lack of the resources that they had, and one of those being a laptop, just a regular laptop to type out your paper. So we were able to get some funding in order to purchase laptops for students, in order for them to do the most basic things, which is just browse the internet, do the research and utilize for typing their papers. And ever since, all students, whether they're undocumented or not, have been able to benefit from this program.
Yeah. Who funds EOP?
So EOP is funded differently. There's different pots of money that comes in, everything from the university allocating to retention services to just private donors. So for example, a lot of the programs like the textbook lending library, even the AB 540 Student Services, the computer program, a lot of the money actually comes from donors, wanting to support these resources for our students. But the money comes from different places. I wouldn't necessarily be able to tell you exactly what those places are since I don't manage the money. But I do know that it's not just a university being accountable and supporting these programs or these resources, but it's also the director himself, reaching out to donors to get more money coming in, since the university, of course, can't cover everything.
And then, do you see EOP and other resources helping students, in particular Oak students, furthering their education and leading them to academic success?
I truly believe that, I came in here as a transfer student when I was an undergraduate, and I can say that coming in from the community college system into a UC system, the EOP here versus the EOP as at the community college, offers so much more support, and it's not just academic support or purchasing a book or anything like that. The way I've worked with my students and the way that EOP has worked with me when I was an undergrad, we have always taken a very holistic approach, getting to know the individual as a person, seeing what are some of the issues going on with the student, if it's academics, what is the core issue behind behind why they're doing so poorly. Is it just because they're not going to class, or is there something going on, back home that's affecting their academic performance? So we try to look at the student as a person and, as a human being, and knowing that there are things that are going on back home that can affect their academics, or things that are going on personally that can affect those academics. So we try to address the whole situation as, as one rather than the bits and pieces, just to make sure that we are taking care of the student and we can set up a plan for success for that student as well.
Would you like to share any additional information?
I don't know. Is there anything specific that you're looking for?
Well, I know for my project, we're basically just focusing on like the computer program, and like for the computer program, how Oaks has regular Macs and other colleges has has Macs, and then Oaks has like just PCs. So I think that's like something that my project is focusing on, as well as like the library.
Yeah.
We have a space for the library, yet there's no books in it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a major part in my project and research.
Okay. See, what else do I want to add? A lot of one of the main reasons a lot of these programs surface again is because students voice their concerns, and we saw the patterns of why students were not doing well academically. So in order for us to support the student in this really important period of their lives, while they're getting an education, especially as first generation students of color, removing some of the most immediate barriers can facilitate this, their career goals and facilitate their access to an education. Anything from a book to a laptop can make a huge difference in the success of a student. It doesn't address all the issues, but it at least removes some of the most immediate barriers. For some students, it's either food or books. So, we, as an institution, we need to be aware that first generation students of color, coming in here is just one part of their success. But supporting them in the process is a whole different area that we need to tackle as a university, because there's so many things that student can face while they're here. Every student of color faces different things while they're here, different struggles. So how, as an institution, do we hold ourselves accountable to support these students during their time here and after they graduate as well? And if that means creating programs that will assist them with books or assist them with computers while they focus on everything else, can make a huge difference in their students' lives. And I can say firsthand, as an incoming, when I came in here to UC Santa Cruz, one of my biggest issues was purchasing a book. Because again, it was either I pay for my tuition and I pay for food, or I buy books. And when I was an undergrad, I was also undocumented. I didn't get any financial aid. So just being able to walk into EOP and saying like, oh, I need books, I don't know what I'm going to do, and having one person just tell me, you know what, I got you, here's the book that you need, that was a huge difference for me. And I can only imagine how much relief of stress that would take off of a student's shoulder if they were in a similar situation.
Okay. What is your exact title?
I'm an academic advisor here, and I'm also the program coordinator for the AB 540 Student Services.
Perfect.
And I'm the academic advisor for Oaks, actually.
Okay.